sir.
So we have updates, we'll provide it regarding the money, and
How much did I say, 3 or more?
I believe 4.
Because when I saw her at that gathering,
Oh.
it was 3 million plus.
Yeah, I got it.
4.
Nandiyan na po siya.
So,
Because that was what was.
It's hard, right? They're facing backwards. I mean, if she's on Zoom.
yeah. Maybe next meeting we can move it to, even like over here, do something.
Can we move the camera now?
But I don't think the wire.
Oh, the wire's not there. They have, especially during our time.
What time is
Sorry,
it?
Commissioner, hold on 1 second.
157.
Oh.
Yo. Yo, Facebook Live?
It's already started.
That's what I just said.
Ready? Could I just give me a thumbs up on the right?
Okay,
When is first thing?
when is, did you publish for this? Dexter?
We just put on public notice, Government of Guam public notice. Yeah. But no PD, no blog post. And then Facebook page.
And now Rudolph,
Hmm?
Rudolph,
Yeah, go
the
ahead.
little agent.
Oh, she's the chief prosecutor.
Okay, the time?
We're gonna start now?
Yeah.
Where we're gonna start?
This is the CHamoru Land Trust Commission Board meeting. A continuation of the September 21st, 2023. The time is now 1 o'clock. And how many minutes? I'm sorry, 2 o'clock exactly? Yeah. This meeting was published on the Guam public notice. On number, do we have to do the Indian first?
It's a resumption, so.
Okay. Number 4, approval of the minutes. That's the regular board meeting, August 17th, 2023. And resumption of meeting of August 30, 2023.
Madam Chair, I don't believe a packet was issued out, another packet was issued out. Yeah, we're still in the resumption from
This is a
the,
resumption, we're continuing the same agenda. It's the second resumption.
so the last meeting, Attorney Finney was going to give her updates on her section, but before we proceed, can I proceed with some updates regarding the loan guarantee and the funding?
Okay, so, section 4, we wait till the packet is ready. Okay, on number 7C, loan guarantee update, is that?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So, we haven't received a response yet from SBA in regards to your inquiry, or the board's inquiry from the last meeting. Although, the governor has responded to Ms. Tyrone's letter dated September 22, 2023. And if I may, I would like to read the letter out loud. It reads, Half-Day Director Tyrone, thank you for your letter dated September 22, 2023. I wholeheartedly agree that the Chamorro Land Trust Commission must address the issues facing our CLTC families and many still suffering from the aftermath of Typhoon Mawar. Therefore, I have instructed the Director of Administration, Edward Byrne, and the Director of the Bureau of Budget and Management Research, Lester Carlson, to make this a priority and to transfer the amount of $4 million from the General Recovery Fund to the Chamorro Loan Guarantee Fund. Please work with them for the transfer, Sir Sentimenti, Lourdes Leon Guerrero. So I did speak with BBMR today. The transfer of the $4 million should be completed by the end of this week. So by the end of this week, the system will read that there is a $4 million available balance, available money. Also, to give you an update, the recent Budget Act had appropriated $1 million to the loan guarantee. The paperwork, such as the establishment of town and the allotment, budget allotment schedule, has been prepared and has been transmitted to BBMR. Also, within the Budget Act, the restoration of the Chamorro Land Trust Commission funds, more specifically the loan guarantee money, and that also the return of $320,105 also. So in total, the Budget Act for FY 2024 appropriated and returned a total of $1.3 million, which the paperwork has been completed and remitted, transferred or transmitted to BBMR. So we expect that money to be uploaded to the system. So that gives a total of about $5.2 million towards the loan guarantee fund, to include the $379,000 that's already there, gives about 5.68, something like that. So now, with that said, maybe the board can consider now determining what would be the acceptable rate for the total aggregate amount to secure.
Does the 4 million have to go through the legislature?
No, I believe they're using typhoon-related relief money, I believe so.
So, do you need a percentage or,
For the board to decide what would be,
that's like putting the money in reserve?
it's what we have in reserve to address the loan guarantees that would be, that are existent and that would be approved in the future.
Now, what do you recommend would be the percentage to cover the guarantee?
Well, based on our calculations, there's an 18.4 default rate just for SBA. Reasonably 15 to 20 should suffice. Given that, and that would be, our current total aggregate loan amount outstanding is $10.4 million. 15% of that would be like 1.5 million. 20% would be $2 million. That would allow also for the growth, but we will still be okay. And this percentage would be fluid, meaning if things should change, economic factors, we will bring it up to the board again, and it's not like it cannot be adjusted. So 15 to 20% would be an ideal number. The board should consider that that's what they feel comfortable with.
Okay, so commissioners, any discussion?
Well, I feel based on the commitments we have for FY '24, that we should go ahead and set the amount for reserve that will go towards the loan guarantee. Although we have 10,000 unfunded, 10 million unfunded liability, and possibly another 2 million on top of that because of Marwa. Not everybody is going to go into default all at the same time. So this almost $6 million that we have should more than support the loan guarantee. And I feel 20% is a good amount. But if we get $5 million or $6 million, we'll just keep that in the trust.
Well,
That way we have working capital and the loan guarantee for future defaults.
like the administrator said, we can always raise it up from 50 to
Yes,
whatever.
later on, if we
Yeah.
need to, we can
Yeah.
always adjust it up or down.
Was it the recommendation of how the history of guarantee and the
Yes,
default?
based on the past 20-year history of defaults for towards the SBA.
Yeah.
Commissioner Herrera,
Your turn?
What date was the letter?
Um, September 28th.
The response was 28 last week? September 28. That was just like a day after our meeting, a day
It
or
was
two.
Friday. Not Friday, or the email.
Yeah. Okay, I did some breakdown. And if I knew the number was available since the 28th, I would have had that computed in this spreadsheet. So if you look at the first column, first column where it said aggregate from 2003. Say the existing portfolio. Well, everything as mentioned was, as we noted, the 10.4 million. And just for your information, Madam Chair, was here last Friday, and I did the audit on the constituents that were in the red line. So I did an audit on number 1, number 5, number 9, and number 19. And yes, since back in 2003, the loan guarantee was required. So taking that into consideration, again, if I knew that there was 4 million already coming, I would have had a different kind of spreadsheet here. But if you look at the first column there, was at 10.4 million. And then 80% of the performing loan was 8.3 million. And the bad debt, as we estimated, was about 20%, which is about 2 million. And then if you look at the second row where it noted the new SBA malware, we estimated about 2.4 million on the 20 constituents. So on the next row down here, I broke it down where if we were, as you guys noted, if we were going to guarantee the aggregate amount, the combined aggregate amount of 10.4 million from the past SBA and the 2.4 million with the current constituents that have had SBA loans approved, then that figure we're working on is 12.8 million, as we noted since the last 4 meetings. So understanding that the bad debt was about 20 million, so I kind of broke it down that if we were going to cover 25%, we're going to need about 3,200,000 in the kitty, in the bank. But right now that you mentioned that we have about 5.6 million, then this configuration is just, it threw me off basically, because I was doing this considering that we only have the 1 million from the legislature and 300,000 from the past accounts. So if we go down from the 5% here, if we need 5% to cover the 12.8, all we need in the reserve or escrow would be $640,000. Then as you go up 10%, we're going to need 1.2 million. On 15% coverage, it will be 1.9 million. On 20% coverage, it will be 2.5 million. Up to 25%, up to 25 will be 3.2 million. But since now we have 5.6, so we have a lot of room to. And then on the last column there, Madam Chair, I know that for the last meetings we've been kind of signaling to the USBA applicants to maybe check one housing. And out of the, I used the figure of 240,000, like which is the basic loan that was approved to some of the 20 applicants. So at SBA, at 2%, the constituent is paying about $887. Now, I recall that Mr. Joe Diego from USDA came in front of us and presented the MOU that he is working on, and that he was configuring it to have as low as 1%, not more than 3.875% interest. So if our constituents go with the USDA, they will be paying about $700 a month. If that constituent is earning more based on this portfolio, then the constituent will be paying about $1,100 a month. Now, if they go to one housing corporation that charges 6%, that same constituent that's paying $240,000 we'll be paying about $1,500 a month. So again, now that we have this new figure and this new funds of 4 million and 1 million, this is the breakdown that I had. So again, it's a day late, dollar short, and if I had the figures last week, I would have had a different report. But that's the open 25% if you agree, and it's up to 25. So, and I like to thank KGTF, Madam Chair, because I understand that on the 26th we had this meeting, and then somehow on the same Friday, some of the senators were basically, I think, monitoring the program, and there was a bill that came out. It was Bill 177-37. That was to, remember we were stuck on, if you open up we were having a struggle on page 23. And you know, we still got to address this, right? Because according to page 23, the language is still not clear. It's not definite what is. And if a thing is online, we still have to break this down, this language here. That said, in no event shall the aggregate amount, and remember I was requesting to kind of define specifically what's the aggregate amount assured by the Commission not to exceed the ability of the CHamoru Loan Guarantee Fund to reasonably provide security. So just based on that language, I came out and did this spreadsheet to make it definite. And then if you go to page, because again, that language is still very vague, right?
Yes.
Right, it's very broad, it's not definite. So if we go to page 33, where it specifically states about the beneficiary loan guarantee fund, this is where the language, as I mentioned, needs to be clarified and specifically defined. So if I can bring you back, guys, back to this is what got us stuck from the beginning in October or August. Right? If the legal counsel is here, or remember, this is what this is what got us, to kind of. Because this was not clear, it wasn't clear. So we were basically, we were discussing what is the what's reasonable. Reasonable could be 1 mil, could be 100 mil, could be 1 billion. There's no, so with this breakdown based on the aggregate amount, then at least we have a formula, and if it's amended and written and verified, then the next generation that comes, or with the next typhoon or next disaster, the explanation on the law is.
So what's the aggregate amount?
Per month or the?
No, what's the aggregate amount?
Oh, what we had in breakup was 10.4,
Yes,
and then the new one, the 20 that came in was about 3.2.
3.2.
Yes.
2.4 or
Yeah.
3.2?
Right, yes. Right here.
2.4.
Right, yeah. So that's the number we were working on. But again, this is the fourth or fifth meeting we're in, right? And all these things were available, but we didn't, there's no clear metrics or clear comparison to say that when you have 10 million, your loan guarantee fund should be within this parameter. If it's, because we're deciding now to go 20%, 25%, so the variable here is from 5 to 25%, up to 25. And if we have more funds in the kitty, we can increase more, we can go up more to.
That's the public law.
Correct, yeah. So if you read the public law, right, and you read on page 2, go to page 2. Because page 2 specifically, parses out page 32, which is section 112 of chapter 75A, which is under H. And under H is the beneficiary loan guarantee fund. So that's the language that is not clear. And that's the language also on page 23 that got us stuck up until today. That in no event shall the aggregate amount, right? We were asking what's the aggregate amount. So we know the aggregate amount. Then the next sentence is that by the commission, exceed the ability of the CHamoru Loan Guarantee Fund. Back in 1975 or 1975, I checked the research. The original loan guarantee was 2 million. That was noted. 2 million was the maximum aggregate amount. So we have a figure back in 1975 from the late Senator Pope Wood Dawson. 2 million was the maximum. Now we're up to 10 million. Is it going to increase? Yeah, the more the merrier. Because the more yield to the economy, the more yield to CHamoru Land Trust. The land that's sitting idle now with a home in it generates more commerce, more water, more power, more consumption of the family buying furnitures and tables. And so again, back in 1975, the cap was 2 million.
But this bill has not become law yet.
No, yes, and I understand that. But since we already have the money coming in, the 4 million that we anticipate, then. So even just with the language.
Based on this bill, we have to vote on 25%.
If we want to apply that. But now, again, I
I mean,
mentioned
if it becomes law,
up to,
yeah.
it could be 50%. Remember the keyword, up to, from.
No, but we decide, the commission decides what is the reasonable amount.
Yeah, and right now the reasonable amount we're saying between this number, because what we have now is about 6 million, right?
Yeah.
5
So,
million.
Mr. Herrera's computations show already. So if you guys decide 5%, you only
Yeah.
need to have 640,000.
Right.
But if you guys decide 20%, you need to have 2.5, which you guys would
Already
have.
have.
Understood. Yeah, that's why I'm saying if I had the number since last, when that letter came, then I would have computed a different amount. So, since we have 5.6 million now, you can metric it over to.
No, we'll just leave it at 20.
Up to you.
Yeah.
Why not 25? Why not 10?
No, just leave it, because the more, you have to reserve more.
Right.
20%.
That's what I'm saying. You know, it's open. We could go 10. Isn't 10 more reserve or 5?
But right now, we have a commitment for only less than 6 million.
Yes.
So staying at the 20% bracket, we're in a comfortable
Okay.
zone
I
for
motion
financing.
to do 20%. Okay, 20.
I would feel comfortable with 20%. That way we can move forward with the loan guarantees.
Okay.
But the entire 5.6 million, right? would stay in a trust and only to be drawn in the event of default.
Right.
Yeah, see your report, right, Joey, on, if you guys read the report that you first wrote on back in August, right? This is your financial report. So the financial report stated that total cash in the bank was $879,000 less $500,000 restricted. So this amount can go into the restricted account, right? So that covers that.
So when we
Right.
get the funds, the reason why the 500 was restricted was through an MOU. But nonetheless, the funds is already, the creation of the CHamoru or the beneficiary loan guarantee fund is restricted to only, to pay for those who are default or to catch up and stuff. So it's not like we can just arbitrarily, expend for any other reason.
You want to go ahead and move the rest?
The what?
Sorry.
Me or him?
You,
Oh. Is it appropriate to make a motion now?
yes. Unless you don't feel comfortable.
Well,
First is the percentage.
my motion would be to allow CLPC to provide not less than 20% towards the loan guarantee based on the total unfunded liability. So that would include SBA and USDA,
Mm.
because I don't think we have this problem with Guam Housing. So my recommendation would be for 20% reserve for our unfunded liability.
Mr.
Second, I
You
second.
want to add on?
No, negative.
Okay. All in favor?
It is only two. Aye.
Motion carried.
All against. Now with that resolved for now, Madam Chair? Can we instruct the administrator to commence in processing the loan guarantees for the Marwar victims?
Legal?
Kristen?
Yeah, yeah, if you, I don't see anything that would stop you from doing that now. If you already have the funds and, you just made your motion, you decided that it was, you had the reasonable, assurance that you can, secure them.
So would it be based on what was provided previously, the 20?
You're talking about what, the funds that are coming in through the governor's response and the legislature, right?
No, can they action on the 20 that's been provided to them in the previous meeting? The 20 listed?
Oh, it sounds like what they're asking, for the staff to do is to process the loan. So I don't know that they can, if they have the information to make a decision on each one of them, but, but it sounds like, you guys can go ahead and process them.
So that they won't be able to decide to approve the funding, not at this meeting.
Right. Right.
Okay.
Unless, because, because what you had on your agenda that you were gonna discuss was just an update about the loan guarantee situation, but it sounds like that situation is resolved now, and that you can move forward with processing, but if they have to, decide on each one of them, and honestly, I'm not sure, I'm not sure right off, if they, can, just blanket approve them without considering them. But I don't know that the specific, requests were gonna be considered,
Well,
or if that was the intention.
well, the loans have already been approved by SBA. It's just pending the loan guarantee from CLTC. So we're not processing the loans, we're just processing the approval on the CLTC side for the loan guarantee.
And
Right, but I don't know if there's any other factors that you are considering in, in processing your approval, like, such as, just whatever the circumstances of each of the applicants are.
Right now, the focus is the pending loan guarantee. And the only pending loan guarantee are the victims of Marwar. And we have from Marwar 20 applicants or 20 individuals who are awaiting CHamoru Land Trust loan guarantee on a loan that they have already qualified for with SBA.
Right, I understand they qualified through SBA, I guess the question is more, maybe directed to the acting, director, if there's any other, any other circumstances that they need to consider, or if they're ready to have all of those loans approved, or if there's anything else that the commission needs to consider.
Well, I would assume that the acting director will review each of those cases on a one-by-one basis. He's not gonna do a mass approval. He's gonna make sure that the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted.
Right, that's all I was saying.
I think maybe the concern is because in the past, when a constituent came in for a loan guarantee, we provided you guys with a staff report, just to ensure that you guys are aware if there's any anomalies within the lease award and all that stuff. So, we will follow that process still, and maybe for the next agenda for October 19, we can individually place everybody if the reports are ready on the agenda, and one of the main focuses will be getting them all approved, if that's what the board should decide.
And if I may, if you look at the loan on the first one, it's broken down in 3 sections: home construction, demolition, and clean out. So of course, one of the factors that Attorney Feeney is saying is that you'll cover all of it, or just the home loan or the construction of the home. And of course, our target is just the construction of the home. We cannot just do a blanket to approve it.
We cannot do personal property.
Okay. So we just have to make sure too that our loan guarantee makes mention that it's strictly only for this amount and only specifically for the real estate.
Excluding personal property.
Yes.
And that bill 17737 specifically parses that out.
And then also,
It was very specific, so
and we can also place this bill on the next agenda, so you guys would be able to discuss it in more depth. And
Okay, attorney, thank you.
So can we we'll move in that direction, we'll instruct the staff to prepare, I believe, if not all, maybe some reports have been prepared, so as they come in, I believe the staff has been working on it already. The staff reports. So we'll make mention to Director Tyrone, if the board would like to place all 20 on the next agenda for the October 19 meeting, we will also inform her of you guys' desire to put all 20 on the agenda.
I'm good with that.
Yeah, they've been waiting.
Yes, they've been waiting too long already.
We will also request with Ms. Tyrone to place bill
Put it on our agenda.
177-37 also
Yeah.
on the agenda.
Yes, please.
I believe there's a couple of other bills too that have been introduced,
For the end.
the solar farm, related to the solar farm, and endowment fund. Well, if it's okay with you guys too, we'll ask if we can place that on the bill, because we're gonna be required to
The
submit
agenda, you mean?
on the agenda, sorry,
Yeah.
for October 19th. So Madam Chair, we'll move to the legal counsel's discussion.
Yes, it's number 9.
So, so you're just looking for a update on these items where I met with the opposing counsel on these? Just want to clarify if that's what you're asking.
What's your question again?
Is that, so you want to update on those, these items from when I went and I talked to the other attorney on these?
Yes,
Well, your target points are the Guam Racing Federation, COCO, and Tata Communication.
Yeah, okay, so with the Tata Communications, so there was just some issues we had to clarify regarding the status of the, you know, of like what's existing now, and you know, we just had to understand, because they're trying to, you know, go back, I guess, and bring what they have now in line with the law that was passed. So they had an existing facility and an agreement, and it sort of overlapped when the law was passed that said, you know, how these agreements should be handled. And so we got that straightened out, and so now I believe that we're just waiting on signatures for that, and I think it's, is that, you can confirm that, right, Joey?
Yes, we're waiting on the Tata Communications to return the sign license
Right.
by their representative.
And then for the Guam Racing Federation, you know, they're requesting for a license agreement that would allow them to continue to use the property while an agreement was worked out. And, you know, I discussed this and the other, and the COCO, just so you guys know, you know, I discussed it with the deputy over the civil division. And we're, we're just not seeing a way that, so with the COCO, what they're asking for is they wanted to have an agreement where they could, lease out, an additional, they have an existing lease and they wanted to lease out an additional piece of property. So with both of these, we don't really see a way around the process that's already laid out in the law, where you know, you guys would put these, put any property that you want to lease out for a bid under, you know, a competitive, process. So I just don't see how you get, how you could get around that law for either of these.
I'm not very clear. Well, I personally, I don't think I've seen any real paperwork on COCO. So I can't make a decision based on something that I have not looked at.
Yeah, well, just to say, you know, there was just discussion about, they wanted to see about leasing, another piece of property, you know, just kind of, like, I guess, incorporated into their existing lease. And what I'm saying back, I guess, is that I don't see how the commission can lease any property, any commercial property in any manner other than what the law already provides for.
I thought we were going to discuss the relationship with COCO and Global. Because I think COCO's asking for that property
Right.
that Global's
So
at.
the relationship there is, I guess that's the property that COCO is asking about, leasing, is the property that Global is currently
Occupied.
on. And so they were wanting to see if they were able to lease that property, using an arrangement that they have that is allowing them to lease a different piece of property, but without, so they're not like, it's not actual cash payments to the commission, they're applying these, credits, that the, commission agreed to accept as payment. But they wanted to add this other piece of property where Global is. And as I'm saying, I just don't see how the commission could just, decide, okay, we're gonna lease this property to Koku, or we're gonna lease this property to anybody without putting it through that competitive process and giving anybody who wants a chance to, bid on it, that opportunity.
That last statement you make, I concur with. If we're going to do any additional land deals, we have to go through the procurement process. And we cannot
Right.
just award it out. But, Chris, I would like, I guess, the whole COCO thing is very convoluted. There's no real clear details on how they were able to get a hand up over the CLTC. Because like you said, they're not gonna be paying us, it's gonna be like a deduction on their credit. So I would like to know how that transpired from the beginning.
It's my understanding that the staff is still putting together a comprehensive report, kind of like what they did for the Racing Federation property, that they're putting together a report on the,
COCO.
on that, yeah. Is
But-
that, And maybe Joey can confirm that,
Yeah,
that they're
because,
working on.
because there, back then, there was also a relationship between Coco and Global. And from there, things just went haywire.
I think all of that will be reflected in that report, but I believe that it's still being compiled. At least that's my understanding, this is not complete yet.
Okay. So, we'll turn that over to Joey for now until the director gets back.
Can we get an accounting on, because the last time Coco came to the meeting, they said they had millions of dollars credit, in credit. So I'd like to
How did
know,
they get it?
how did they get it?
We won't be able to,
Not in this meeting, I know.
but even with the information readily available to us, when we were researching the whole issue before, and we had requested for the bill of lading, that still didn't come up to an amount of $7.2 million. But what was available was that the $7.2 million credit was awarded through the license that was granted to Cocoa Recycling. So that's how they arrived to that number. We can try, but we just want to show you that this is like maybe 90% done of the cocoa recycling research that we're doing. But we will provide it as soon as it's completed.
Did you hear that? Chris?
Yeah, and, right, and so yeah, I have seen some of what they're putting together, but, again, it's still a work in progress. I think that they're not complete with the report yet. But I think the intention is to be able to provide that to the commissioners as soon as they finish researching everything.
I think they may need your assistance in that, Chris, is because, for lack of a, no, not for lack of a better word, I think the better word to assist the staff in compiling a detailed report, there would need to be some sort of discovery, pooling from the information in or from Coco. Because I don't know how they got a 7 million credit. Each of us commissioners here would like to know how we got behind the 8 ball on that, and they came on top of the 8 ball with $7 million. It's very convoluted, and I think the staff here is going to need legal assistance in acquiring the necessary documents. Because I've read bits and pieces also, but it still doesn't feel right.
I have a question. Global occupying that 12-acre lot with no rent, what do we do? They've been there for 12 years.
Good question.
And I'll share.
Sorry,
Oh, go ahead.
no, it was a little bit hard to hear you. You're asking about global,
Yeah, occupancy on that 12-acre lot.
Global's occupying that property.
Correct. And no.
And I think,
Okay, well,
They have no lease, they have no license from us.
That's correct.
they've been there for almost 10 years now.
Chris, are you?
yeah, sorry, I glitched out for a moment. So as far as the global occupying the property, it's something we're still looking at.
So that seems to be a a hot issue right now is because like Commissioner Herrera just said, they're not paying any monthly rental for use of the property. How they got there, we're not even clear how they got there in the first place. But there was a relationship between Globo and Coco, and if you line up the ducks, it seems like they were in it together and then they weren't anymore. But Globo kept control of the property.
Well, I think, I mean, as far as I know, Koku's on a different piece of property. It's not the same property that Global's occupying.
It's too different.
But there was, I believe, there is some records that show that they're there because of Coco, I believe. They didn't just one day show up at that site and say, I'm gonna start my operation here. It was through an arrangement with Coco.
And I think that when the report that the staff is working on is complete, I think that that we'll be able to see through those documents. And then we can discuss it. But I think it'll be better when the report's complete and we all have those items in front of us, and then we can go through them and discuss it.
But I still feel that the staff will need your experience and knowledge as an attorney to help them acquire the necessary documents from Coco and Globo.
Yes, I will work with them.
Okay. And we should make that a red hot button because like Commissioner Herrera said, they're occupying the property without paying for it.
Right.
Now, Chris, I have another question for you, please. It's back to the Guam Raceway. Did you read the letter that they sent us? I think last week or 2 weeks ago? To your temporary use of the property? Chris, you online?
Sorry, I'm here. I was glitching out again. I apologize for that, and I'm really sorry I'm not present there. I don't know if Joey told you guys
Yes, he did.
that you know.
Yes, he did.
Yeah. Okay. So that's the reason that I'm not there. So I hope you forgive me. But yeah, that's what I was saying about they wanted to occupy the property temporarily, and so I don't see I don't see where you have the authority again to go around or outside of what is provided for in the law about how you can lease out the property for commercial use.
Well, they were,
So, I mean, we can we can continue to look at it, but that's, but just like right off the top, there's not really any provision that lets you guys just, lease out your property or license out your property even on a short-term basis like that. Everything directs you back to that law about commercial leases and licenses.
Mr. Cruz, when would the RFP
Be
on the
completed.
Guam Raceway Federation?
We'll try to get it out in a couple of weeks, but there's a process. We need to complete a determinant of nation document that needs to be forwarded to the legislature. But we'll try to get the draft out in a couple of weeks.
the RFP needs, Chris and Joey, does the RFP need to be approved by the legislature?
No, well, it's just part of the process when we are commercially leasing that a determination of need document needs to be completed in the event that they may request for an exceptional term lease, anything over
It-
25 years.
Well, it already is approved by the legislature in that, you know, there's a law that says how you have to lease that property out. But then specific to that raceway property, there's a separate law that, that tells you, you know, how you can do it. And both of those, I mean, it's not the RFP that has to be approved by the legislature, but, I'm not looking at the law right now, it's not right in front of me, but it's possible that the golf has to be approved by them.
That's if we go for a long-term lease. But isn't the CLTC mandated that they can't approve a lease or a license up to 20 years, I believe, I read.
25 for a license.
25.
21 for a lease. Or 25 for a lease, 21 for a license.
I mean, the legislature gave us permission to go ahead and lease it out for 50 years, but maybe we don't need the 50 years. And if we stay within our mandate, then we don't need to go to the legislature for them to tell us what to do and how to do it, like they did initially with the raceway.
Right, because, I mean, it's there in the law, so you just have to follow that process that's there in the law.
Yeah, the law that they passed said we could lease it for 50 years. But what I'm saying is if we don't need to lease it for 50 years, we're allowed 20 years on a, 21 years on the license? 21 years on the license and on a lease, Joe?
25.
25 years on a lease, where we will negotiate the terms of the lease and everything, where we don't have to go to the legislature because it's within our mandate. Because I really don't want to.
If the law says that the legislature has to approve the lease, then you would have to go back to them once you have one, but, I'm not looking at it right
Okay.
now, so I'm not sure.
Can you give us a word when you have the documents in front of you?
Yes.
I think that's it for now for me. Commissioner Herrera, any questions?
For what? Legal? Are you still there? How do we make the?
Yes, I'm still here.
Okay, how do we make a motion to have another meeting to put the constituents in the agenda to officially and legally accelerate the process forward for the loan guarantee? Do we have to wait
Well,
for the third Thursday or
I
can we?
I think your next meeting is coming up in a couple of weeks, so I don't think you need to do a special meeting. I think you can just include them on your next agenda.
I understand, but just because of the inclement weather and all these things, right, can we accelerate it?
Can we have a special meeting?
Yes.
You
Because-
can, but just you should know that the requirements, to have a special meeting are, you know, there's some additional,
Yes, there's some timelines that have to be met, that's true.
and so if you're gonna do all of that, you're probably gonna end up pretty close to your next meeting date anyway. So I'm just suggesting you might just consider putting it on your next agenda.
But these people are living out in the elements. And Commissioner Herrera's concern is that we're in the beginning of the rainy season, and you see the downpours we've had lately, and they're walking on earth floors, living under a tent, so water's coming in. It's not a fully enclosed tent, it's just a roof type of tent.
you can have a special meeting, just make sure that you know, all of the, all of
Requirements.
the notice requirements, for a special meeting are met.
We need to go in to determine the date.
Yes.
So our, the third Thursday will be on the 19th?
When this meeting is coming up, what do you need to do, the 20?
How soon can we have a special meeting?
We're verifying how many staff reports have been completed already. Let me just go back and check. How long will it take to complete?
Our concern, Joey, is even if we're not gonna have all 20 prepared, at least we can process what is ready to go.
Right. 1 or 2 or 3.
Because the sooner we get them, their loan guarantee, the sooner they can start their reconstruction.
What you could do is, you know, approve it and then ratify it as the list. You go down the list.
Approve it and then,
Yeah, the 20,
Or we can list all 20, or
yeah.
just do it like how you guys been doing it, recess, and then
Yeah.
for the next.
Yes. no, at least,
Yeah.
because it's only 20.
Yeah. I mean, basically, it's just that form that you have to fill out and give it to the customer.
But you have to signature, countersign there.
I have to.
Yeah.
We can, if the board is requesting to have a special meeting, Kristen, please correct me if I'm wrong, we can name all 20. And if in the event we are unable to complete all 20 reports, we can address however many and then recess and then,
Good.
Kristen, is that possible?
Yeah. I just, again, would just point out that, you know, you have to make sure that you meet the, additional notice requirements.
Was that 1 week before, that would be on the,
1 week?
yeah. So today's the 3rd, so 1 week from now would be,
The 10th?
11?
yeah, but to advertise it in the paper, right? We can
Yeah.
set it up tomorrow or today for tomorrow.
Kristen, would there be like some kind of certification or something to that effect that's needed to justify the special meeting?
No,
I don't think so. I think you just have to meet those, extra notice requirements.
Okay. Can we,
So section 103, Joey, the, that's on C. It said the commission shall meet regularly on third Thursday of every month, or more often, as determined by the chairperson of the commission. That's on page 10 of your Bible there. Page 10. We got it, page 10. C. Page 10, C.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, it is at your discretion.
we're just verifying, about the publication and meeting the
Yes.
requirement of the open government law.
Yes. Otherwise, it's not a meeting.
That would be on page, on the next page. On the,
Before we go on recess, can you announce the names on that 20? And if it is approved by us?
now?
Yeah.
Okay. To be
And that-
placed on the agenda.
On the agenda,
No,
Chris,
not just the agenda,
Oh, just,
it's just part of
can we
this.
disclose the name of
Loan
each of the
guarantee.
applicant?
on C,
I think, isn't that your normal practice to do that?
It's
part of the staff report,
7.
yeah.
No, but for the publication, do we have to publish their name, or do we just publish that we're going to discuss the loan guarantee for 20 applicants?
Yes.
I think, I mean, you have to identify them some way, like you could at least use their,
Lot
I
number?
don't know if you use their name or their property description.
So, Kristen, I just reviewed the notices for the notice of special meetings from the GCA. So we still need to publish 5 working days, give public notice 5 working days,
Right.
and a second notice 48 hours.
Right, there's 2 sections, are you looking at, 5 GCA chapter 8?
8107 notices.
Yeah, you wanna look at 8107B, and then you also wanna look at, 8108. Because that's where it says notice shall be given to each newspaper of general circulation and broadcasting station that airs a regular news program within Guam.
And again, it's the 5 working days and 48 hours.
Right.
That's 7.
So,
No, no,
So
5 days
it
prior
just,
and 2 days prior.
there's increased, notification requirements. And I just wanna make sure you guys are aware of that, that's all.
it says that the notice of the 5 days and the 48 hours may be waived in the event of an emergency certified to in writing by a public agency.
That would be her.
Go ahead again, say that again.
It says
It can be waived.
the 5 days notice and the 48-hour notice or 48 hours notice may be waived in the event of an emergency certified to in writing by a public agency.
And who can certify an emergency?
Kristen?
Honestly, I'm not sure, I'm not sure how to advise you on that. If you're trying to, if you're saying that an emergency exists, that's not a decision I can make for you.
It's just because the constituents are under that disaster category.
Okay, so if we can't deem it an emergency,
Yeah, but who's going to deem it an emergency?
Kristen, who can deem it an emergency? Or certify it?
Sorry, can you ask that again?
Who would certify,
Who would qualify it as an emergency?
The governor,
to waive the requirements?
the governor is what we understand that can declare an emergency, but
Well, I don't know that there's a emergency, that exists right now. I think we're
well, because,
outside of that emergency declaration.
well, these guys were covered under the Federal Emergency Management Agency based on the declaration of the United States President. And these folks are,
I'm really not sure. I mean, I could look into it. I'm just, just like right at this moment, I can't tell you, whether or not this qualifies. Like, for example, I don't know if emergency is defined in here, and if we need to be looking at a, declaration of emergency, or if there's other circumstances that would qualify. I just don't know, so I don't wanna tell you something that doesn't actually reflect the state of the law, so that's what I'm saying, I would need to look into it a little bit before I could, tell you.
okay, so we do the 5 calendar days, that would be if we start tomorrow,
I know if we
and then the 24 hours.
If we get the publication by tomorrow,
The 4th, yeah.
Just the deadline, 12 noon.
okay, so if we get it to them tomorrow, it won't be published until Thursday.
Okay, that would be the 5th.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, not including weekends,
Okay, what days?
up to the 11th. That's 5 days prior to, if we hold the meeting on the 12th, right?
I see. So that's a week before the regular,
About it,
yeah, which would be better than a week late.
Later.
So target would be the 12th?
If that's what the
Yeah.
board wants to do.
Right, based on the timeline, that's
Yes.
5 and 24.
5 and 48.
48. And that can be approved by the chairperson, right?
To,
Okay. Okay.
Kristen, just reviewing the dates, we'll meet the 5 and 48-hour requirement, right? If it's published on Thursday, the 5th, and the meeting's on the 12th. So that'll be the 5th and the 10th we publish.
Yeah, five working days, just, again, I just wanna make sure that you give notice to everybody, not just one.
Meaning giving notice, we have to publish in all?
Yeah, you have to give written notice to, that you deliver personally or by mail to each newspaper, general circulation, and broadcasting station which airs a regular local news program within Guam.
Okay. General circulation, to our understanding, there's only one newspaper company that does general circulation.
Okay.
Daily news
I just
only
want
does
to be clear,
digital.
and also, and any, any broadcasting station that airs a regular local news program. So it's, you guys just need to make sure that it's not like either or, it's
Everyone.
everything.
Mhm.
Can we take a 5-minute break?
You're the chair.
Yeah.
Stop. Time out.
Do you have enough time to do all the
Mr. Herrera, you want some water too?
Thank you, thank you.
Do you have to have an on-site visit?
That's the process that the people take, or the land agents take, is that they do site visits or site inspections. Joe, what is the other process?
Just when you're ready.
Joe?
You have to do a site inspection, and then you have to come back and then go over if there's any issues on the file. You can't expect that there's no issues to the file. So meaning, you don't know if there's a switch and transfer, meaning like they transferred it or it's an application stage or whatever. So those are things to consider.
I think there's about 5 that jump the line on this spreadsheet. Or 6 that are not, first come, first served.
That's the one that you.
On the
you-
20.
How do you know?
On the time and date. On the 20, the 20 there that you have,
Yeah,
look at the date of the application. Aside from the audit that I did, so,
the signing date for the lease.
no, but the signing date is, it
Oh,
was-
the date.
No, remember the files that,
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
you can see here, it's at
so a lot of them were.
12/29, 1:19 PM, that already is. And I think the first individual, we're not being recorded here, right?
Yeah, who is-
The first individual was the Delphin guy that came.
Guam Housing, no? And he's
So-
out of line.
And then that also has a problem because that application was paid like 20 years later. So he has 2 applications.
Right.
They made him pay the December 29 application also, but in 2017, I believe. But it's very far from 95.
Yeah.
So that's another issue that you guys need to be aware of, because
Right.
if you decide, it may come back to,
So that's the thing, right? If he was not in compliance with the requirement, what do we do? No, we can approve the loan guarantee, but then it's stuck with the,
you create a liability on the trust, because remember like when you guys approved the additional authority, only Commissioner, I don't know if Commissioner Burdali was here, but they approved that, so that would address issues like this. Issues of switching application type, because we have a lot that's not authorized by law.
Yeah.
We have issues of naming grandchildren, and we don't know whether one of these people here is a grandchild that was named that's not allowed by law. Like Joanna said, and they may have switched date and time, and they weren't picked up by the review from the AG, but we all know that that action is null and void. And then, what else might be an issue?
Transfer.
The transfer,
Right.
so transfer by a living applicant. Somebody here may have received their lease based on the transfer of an application by a living applicant. That is not allowed too.
Like the Paris and the Taurus?
there, that one was due,
Yeah,
Who
so see, their
want
husband and
applicants?
wife, they're not even supposed to both have a lease.
no, they're supposed to surrender one.
One, yes, or transfer.
That's on section,
But then,
But that's, see, the additional authority that Commissioner Herrera approved during his time, before the two of you came.
yeah.
They approved already an additional authority that was attached to a resolution that would resolve 98% of our problems.
Yeah. Because you see, they're already established on the place, right? They put water, all
Yes,
this,
the
they're paying
improvements.
taxes.
And that's the thing now that we have to consider. If the board then didn't approve the additional authority for us to try to seek some kind of resolution,
Yeah.
because there was a bill, I think Bill 356 or 354-34, when Joe Borra was the chief of staff for Tom Ada, they presented a resolution to the null and void, but they didn't want to ratify those leases. So it came back to us, and still, the leases haven't been ratified, or haven't even been adjudicated. They're still floating, out of 102, I think only 16 were so-called adjudicated, but it's not to say that the so-called adjudication process was correct. So we have to go back and review that again. So that's part of the holdup for the line, because as we move forward and there's no solution to address those issues,
When you're referring to the line, you're talking about,
the
Number
95.
six.
okay,
So,
not about our SPA.
no, just the line, because they're all interrelated. I mean,
They are,
just by this, here, and you can see the date and time,
yeah.
all of these have a problem.
Yes.
And the issuance also affects the priority status.
No, we're
And
not.
we don't even know if these guys are priority two. I mean, we just had, Commissioner went to one of the hearings on Duenas, and she was priority two, but they gave her lease.
Oh, yeah.
So, and then the lady had paid already for something, and then now, like the Paris, they paid for a lease, for a survey. They have rights now to claim on the government because we gave them the lease, we allowed them to do whatever it is they do, to expend
lease.
money. And then now they can't have it because it's been voided. So either the commission or the government of Guam is gonna be stuck if we don't resolve that to reimburse them $2,000 or whatever. it
And they
is.
paid for survey?
So, those are just the things that we need to make sure.
Sometimes, don't you grandfather things before?
They only grandfathered into the program if they're a preoccupier. But if the law stays intact as the way it's written, they won't be grandfathered, those who, the types of anomalies we just mentioned. If somebody, Doug Moylan, decides to come and does a whole review on all our problems and null and voids all of them because their actions were contrary to law, just like the switch of date and time,
Remember this?
then we're stuck with a huge liability.
Yeah.
Because
Remember the
this-
Barragata Heights?
Yeah, see,
The moratorium?
is that the one to
Yeah.
Austin?
Yes.
If you read in the back, it talks about, it doesn't touch on the bypass of priority status. That means that's focused on the date and time. But if we go and we ask for a legal review of that, he may come back and say it's void, not voidable, because it's contrary to law. The board cannot correct it. So out of the ones that were considered voidable, which was the leases that were awarded by the administrative director, the board had the authority to ratify it and accept that action. But the problem too is that some of those leases are defective because, for one, they're missing signatures. Two, it's outside of the date and time, so how can you ratify something that's properly incorrect, right? Or not properly correct?
So take for example, the listing that you have, that's 20, right? So they've been living on the property and they have bypassed the time and date, and then their structure has been damaged. Then they've been given a $300,000 loan. So now, when this one comes in and we're saying, okay, you may have that amount of money, but you're in violation, you're stagnated again.
But see, if they were there already, right? Not all the time, but a good percentage is they were there through an LUP, some kind of prior program, right? If they were preoccupiers. So even if their lease was awarded, and we should say if they decide to terminate, we cannot evict them until we determine if they're qualified or not. So they'll be grandfathered as preoccupiers.
We need that in statute, the grandfather.
Yeah. Anybody there before July 12, 95 is considered a preoccupier. So, doesn't mean we can kick you out yet, but we need to determine whether you're an eligible beneficiary now.
It's the Barragata Heights.
That's the one to Austin,
Yeah, Austin.
Duenas?
I think so.
On the back, it talks about priority status. It didn't cover it because that wasn't the inquiry, but it doesn't mean to say that those who were given a lease prior to the date and time, who has affected other people's priority status, doesn't mean that it cannot be voided because we don't know legally.
Yeah. This is Barrett Anderson's time,
Yeah.
so, wow, that's,
And if you go to that bill, the one I just mentioned, and you look at the fiscal notes, I think it's about $20 million that we could be liable for. I think I have the bill here. So that's just, we want to make sure that you guys are well aware of all the anomalies before you.
Kaya just think is in na factory, is it? Everything here came from that factory.
I think it's Bill 356-34. That's when the Barragata Heights issue had came up and Joe Borja.
What's the bill again?
3 -34.
Yeah. 5-3 or?
356-34.
Bill or public law?
Bill. Because that bill never saw the day of the light of day. They didn't address it.
She's just like this grandfather or grandchild, no?
Like Mr. Cruz who came the last time, who gave an example. He has one son, but he passed, and he only has a grandchild, and he wants to give it, but he can't because it's not allowed in the law.
Well, that's why I don't adopt your grandson. It's the only way to get it.
So, it's,
Yeah, remember grandson is not in the.
but
No.
if the grandson is already of age, the senior cannot adopt, but he still wants to leave it
No,
to
you
him.
can still adopt.
Oh, yeah?
My uncle was adopted at 18.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
But still, we have to address those that are below 18.
Yeah, but still, just know that we have leases with people with loan guarantees who are grandchildren who had became successors to their grandparents' lease, but that's incorrect because a grandchild is not allowed to be a
Until we amend the law.
yeah.
And you see with this language that we've been discussing, right? You see how fast this group,
Yes.
the legislature did the Bill 177? I freaked out on Friday when I saw it on our website. I gave you guys a copy.
So speaking of website, am I able to access?
In the
Oh,
Which was it?
yeah, him, Mubarak.
The email?
email.
We're gonna
So,
do your.
You guys already decided a percentage. In the immediate, that's gonna address what we need to do today.
With the
In
funds
the-
available.
In the long term, Bill 177,
Mm.
and then also the inquiry that Ms. Tyrone had done, and we followed up with SBA regarding an MOU and waiving the requirements, that will all take place, but
Yeah.
for the immediate, at least to help the 20 and the other 20 that might
The
come.
victims, call them victims, because that's what they are right now.
Right, and
Well,
there
we can say we approve on that list, provided that if they qualify under all the
You can,
laws, public laws.
you can do a conditional approval, but I don't think you can do it today. Because in the agenda, it's not specifically stated.
It's an update. Don't guarantee update,
If you're gonna drive that way, we follow you. No problem.
then we don't have to meet.
No, you still have to meet.
Yeah, we have to discuss each of the applicants.
No, but they have to do their research on,
The team has to, there's a lengthy process and Joanna can
Yeah.
give detail in what needs to be done.
these guys are good. They're
But, also
It
what's
takes
required
time.
is to go out and do site inspections. Me and Dexter won't have a problem holding down the fort. We'll be all right, right? But, it's just,
it's about.
manpower right now. Okay, we can continue. Our meeting.
You ready to call the meeting back to order?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you ready?
so, just know
Wait,
that to start a new agenda, you need to adjourn this meeting.
Yes, and then we start the media process.
Yeah, a new agenda.
We're going to adjourn today.
Okay,
Yeah,
just so you guys,
yeah, that's good.
we're gonna adjourn.
you need to in order to discuss
And then start the media.
the new,
But that would be on the 19th.
that's the regular scheduled meeting date,
The 19th,
yes.
but when can we meet?
Prior to,
Yeah,
Right, on the 15th or 16th, a week before that.
12.
5 work days
Well,
prior, right?
5 days is 12.
Well,
Okay.
Joe,
Yeah,
what can be complete, what do you think can be completed if we hold a special meeting?
On the 12th.
At least 5 to 10?
we have the two that's already done, the Kanata and Cruz.
Okay.
Jessica completed those.
Okay,
Maybe you, so you're saying on the 12th you want to discuss these individuals?
yeah,
I think
And,
if,
and any others that you
That
could
you're
complete by
prepared?
then?
Well, the thing is, you have to publish the names, so we can't determine
Will be
who would be completed unless we just say, okay, we're only gonna,
we were gonna list all
submit-
20 and then just continue again, like recess like how we're doing now.
They complete the other two that you did, no? The Pinata,
Yes,
Cruz, and then,
that's another.
and then go.
Okay, so you're just gonna publish everyone,
And then recess if not everybody's done.
and then you guys are you guys requesting for them to come in?
But you're gonna publish by legal description, not by name, right?
We have to publish name and what the action's
On
gonna
the
be.
first notice or the last notice?
On both,
Yeah.
on both.
Okay.
Take it out. Same the name.
No, I never looked at the,
The agenda,
And then-
only
no,
on
I
the
never
same
look at
day.
what is posted in the newspaper, I don't get the newspaper.
How does this work? How would it-
Then it's the tres na noon si sabi ang Pinata. O si Kini si and si Galati and si Gongan.
Gagan.
Gaga. So honestly, this morning, this is very good progress. Tita Masus na.
So, just for full
Nana
disclosure,
bawa pa big Masu.
if
so
we,
thousand eh, wow.
Thousand to put asset. Si Zusa.
we have to try to make sure that they're presented to the board based on how we receive them. Meaning, if Mr. Kanata came before Mr. Delphin, Mr. Kanata should be presented first. Just because that's how we received it, right? So, we have
We need
to,
to table and go down or no, base.
we'll try not, we should not bypass anybody in the order that they came in to turn in their application.
That's right, first come first.
Yes.
Krista?
So I-
Good progress.
Now, if number 1 is not ready to be heard, we're gonna be stuck in that number 6,
See,
No, we'll put a clause name again, right? No, we're not gonna.
no,
look
but
at-
we're gonna go by first come, first serve. If number 1 has a problem with one of their definitions, that's gonna stop everything again.
Just go on.
No, we add a clause in the event.
We just need to make sure we present it in the order it was received.
342.
If there's anomalies with how the lease was awarded, that's, will be up to you guys to
Right.
decide.
Yeah, this is not a, no legislative restriction, not like number 6.
We just need to make sure that we present it to you guys how we received it in terms of the request. We just don't want Mr. Kanata to come forth on the next meeting when he was actually number 1, like that. So we will,
Okay, Madam Chair.
we're
Back.
resuming?
You have to resume.
You've been on.
No.
We end our discussion.
Have we resumed?
We're resuming, or are we going on recess, or we're going to adjourn?
Well, when we recessed, we were talking about having a special meeting, right? And right now, we're looking at the 15th.
The
If
12th.
we follow the 5 days, 48 hours. The 12, I'm sorry, 12.
the 12th, if we get it out by tomorrow, published Thursday, and everybody's informed, all the broadcasting is informed by Thursday. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the 10th, it'll be the 12th,
Yes.
if that's what, but just know that not all the reports and all the
Yes,
constituents will be
understood.
ready.
But we're gonna discuss that 20 on the,
We will publish on the
We'll just schedule it.
publication all 20,
Yeah, that's good.
But not necessarily you guys will be able to decide on all 20. Maybe only 2 or 3, and it'll be in the order of how we receive the requests.
So you want to recess and go back on October 12th?
No,
Yes.
No, we'll adjourn.
in order
No, not
to
recess.
change
Adjourn.
the agenda, you need to adjourn.
That's what
and
that's
then-
what I'm trying to
Yeah.
find out.
Mhm.
Okay, so you want to adjourn until,
Yeah, we'll adjourn.
You're looking for the motion now? Okay.
so that means October 19 or?
Before can we just consult Attorney Finney just to make sure we're all in line?
Chris, have you been hearing everything?
What day is the 12th?
You're going to adjourn this meeting and you're going to call a special meeting for October 12th. At
Correct.
what time?
1 o'clock.
1 o'clock.
Okay.
Does that cut the mustard? Chris?
Yeah, it's Kristen, but,
Kristen?
yeah, again, as long as you meet the notice requirements.
Okay,
Madam Chair, I'd like to put a motion that we adjourn for today.
A
And we will
motion.
schedule a special meeting for the 12th at 1 o'clock.
I second the motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Hey,
Motion carried.